After 15 days, the Orange and Blue are back. A 5-game road trip begins in the city of brotherly love. We get you set for the Oilers and the Flyers on the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show. Good morning, everybody. I hope you're doing well on this warm Saturday in Edmonton. Yes, indeed, the Oil are back. Canada victorious. Woo. Here we go. Tom Gazzola, Hernan, Salas, Matt Kassian will be by in a little bit for Game Changers, and we'll be joined by our good buddy Anthony Mingioni from Center Ice Philly to give us the scoop on the Flyers. I'm getting one of these from Hernan as we're going to get him on here right after I read out this liner because the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show brought to you by GCL Diesel, providers of the best diesel engine components around, from turbochargers to injectors, fuel pumps to sensors. They are the critical engine component experts, proud to serve Edmonton and Northern Alberta for over 50 years. Get in the conversation. I see some people. I said hello to a few people in the nasty chat. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening, maybe you're driving around somewhere, you can text us 780-218-9999. We want to hear from you. On Hello Hockey there, we did have to run it. We pre-taped it yesterday. We were in the Hangout studio. We had some technical audio glitches, I think, with our guests, with Bill Scott and Dave Pagnotta. That was our first time doing it from that studio. So apologies for that one. Hernan, Salas, hello. How are you?
Hola.
Hola.
I am not ready for this, Tom.
I know.
I'm still riding the high of Canada. I'm not ready for Oilers hockey.
You were at the Golden Bears game yesterday with Evan Dom, weren't you?
Yeah, it was
How
fun.
was that? And EJ from the Elks?
Yeah, EJ and Richard, and it was a good time, man. Tough game, 1-1. Mm-hmm. It was back and forth. U of A was able to win it in OT, so
nice.
Kudos to them. Always a good vibe there, buddy.
Nice. Yeah,
absolutely
it is
love it
time
there. So a great time, and happy to be back. Look at you, man. You just did Hello Hockey.
Did it yesterday.
Change. Wardrobe change. Well, you don't tell people that,
hair
Tom.
looks different.
Yeah. And then you come in here. You're like the Canadian version of who's a really busy guy down in the U.S.
Jeff Probst.
Okay, you're a Canadian Jeff Probst.
I would like his paycheck too.
But in all seriously, I mean, it is quick, man. This is a quick turnaround for everybody involved. So, because I mean, yesterday we were breaking down Canada's great win with Connor McDavid scoring the winner and all that, and now we're back to trade Stuart Skinner and Bouchard
already. 4 minutes
coming,
into
man.
the show.
It's coming, buddy. You know it. Oh
my goodness, I was salty yesterday. I was a little sassy. Everybody kind of was, but it's all water under the bridge. Oilers are back. Here we go. Let's have some fun. It's going to be a good time. So text us, 780-218-9999. Get into the nasty chat. As well, the Oilers 34-17-4. The Flyers 24-26-7. It is game number 56 for the Orange and Blue. Hernan might not be ready, but the game is coming, and it's coming quickly. The Oilers will be in Washington tomorrow as they begin this 5-game Eastern Conference road trip. So many early games, Nat. So, we're going to be doing this again 24 hours from now. 3 games in 4 nights if you're Connor McDavid, and some of the others that were in the Four Nations face-off final the other night. Konechny, although he didn't play the other night, but busy.
How about him flying on the charter with the Flyers and Torts and
whatever.
I love it. I think it's
who cares,
cool, man. Yeah, no. I'm just saying it's like Torts and McDavid having a conversation after the play. Do you know what I mean?
I know. Yeah,
I'd love to be on that plane.
It's a flight. Whatever.
Yeah.
It was probably like a 20-minute flight, too. Boston and Philly aren't that far away from each other. By the way, shout out, and I know they're not a sponsor of this show, but they are a sponsor of Hello Hockey. Shout out to Ashira, Jarrell, and Michaela over at Fox Coffee, fueling us this morning. Usually it's for Hello Hockey, obviously, but a little bit different circumstances today with the Oilers playing early. What do you think of the Fox Coffee?
I was telling you off air, man, this is really good cafecito, man. I'm really enjoying it.
Did you say cafecito?
Cafecito.
I like that. Yeah. I went the Americano, absolutely tremendous. And then I had the cinnamon bun.
Yeah, I'm gonna crush that after the pregame.
To die for. So good. And Ashira hooked us up with donuts, and I think there's some carrot cake in there.
Oh,
what else? What do you got going on?
Hey, I saw Big Uke yesterday.
You did?
At the game from afar.
Yep.
He was on the other side. And I was too lazy to go say hi. But I saw Big Uke. He was there cheering on his cousin who plays for the Dinos, I think.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. Before I get into starting lineups, do you want to throw out a question of the day, or is it too early for that too?
No, I'm ready, man.
Are you ready? Okay, fire away, big guy.
Okay. We're less than 2 weeks away from the trade deadline. Right, Tommy?
Yes. It's 7th, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The Oilers have 7 games in that span. What is their record in those 7 games? 5 games on the road. Good. And then they'll go 2 games at home before they're off on the 7th for trade deadline day. Mm-hmm. What is their record? There's some tough teams mixed in here, Thomas. What say you in their next 7 games prior to the much anticipated trade deadline?
Did you just drop a Thomas on me?
I did.
Oh, well done. Well done, Hernandez. Okay, I'll take a crack at this one. So you got Philly today, Washington tomorrow, Tampa, Florida, Carolina. This is a tough road trip. Anaheim, Montreal, and then that's it for the games prior to the deadline. You got to beat Anaheim, got to beat Montreal, got to beat Philly. So there's 3 wins right there. I think you get 1 win against Tampa or maybe Florida. Carolina's going to be a tough one. Washington's going to be a tough one with the back-to-back. So I say 4, 2, and 1. What do you think?
Yeah, 4, 2, and 1.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 5 and 2. I know there's some tough teams coming up, but like you said, I think Anaheim, Montreal are musts, especially at home.
Mm-hmm.
And then, am I missing it? Oh, no, the Carolina. I think they win today. Yeah, they're going to win one of the Florida games, Tampa or Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think they can get by Carolina. They're due to win there, man.
You know what? They don't win all that much in Philly either.
No, they don't.
Speaking of that.
We talked about this on the oil stream the other day. Like, yeah, this road trip's going to be tough, man. Absolutely tough.
They've won 3 of their last 4 against the Flyers, but most of those were home games. In their last 6 visits to Philadelphia, 1-3-2 is Edmonton's record. So looking to turn that around a little bit. We'll see if they can get it done against a weaker Flyers team. Should be interesting. All right, let us know your thoughts on the question of the day. How are the Oilers going to do in the 7 games leading up to the trade deadline? What will their record be? Show your work, please, and thank you. Matt Kassian is standing by, ready to go. We will get to starting lineups later when the teams hit the ice for warm-up. We do know Matt Savoy will play. We are anticipating Stu Skinner between the pipes. I think that was confirmed. Stoff put it out there yesterday. And anything that changes or if there's any tweaks to the lineup, we will let you know. McDavid is a go. So we will save starting lineups for later as we welcome in our game analyst, Matt Kassian. There he is. Hello, Cass. Good morning. You look very cozy today.
Good morning. Good morning. Not as cozy as you. I'm assuming your arms were very warm today, and so they needed to cool off. But the rest of you was pipes. A little warm. So
the gun show.
The gun show. Mm-hmm. Yeah, tickets to the gun show. No, we're good. The basement's still cold. Happy it's warming up outside. Obviously, kind of feels like the thaw is on. Maybe beginning with that huge Team Canada championship 4 Nations win. Now everything is melting. The snow is melting. The sun is shining. Actually, I think it's shining. I don't know. I'm in the basement, which is why I'm dressed up like it's still winter, which it kind of still is. It's
kind of, there was some cloud this morning. I think it wants to pop out. The sun certainly does. So the warm temps are there. You're right. It's going to get mushy and gross out there. Hey, Chappie texted me the other day, sent me a nice photo from back in the day. Good to hear from him. I like him. Your dad's a good man. Really good man.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Good to hear from Brent. Okay, before we dive into game changers, what do you think of the question of the day that Hernan threw out there? How do you think the Oilers are going to do in these 7 games leading up to the trade deadline?
Yeah, for as much as I want to disagree with you, Tommy, I kind of my first instinct was to go, I think you're in good shape and you're happy if you're 4-2-1. 2 games above 500. Like, I think that's a positive place to be. And if we look at that schedule, there are some tough games. I mean, Washington tomorrow is going to be tough. Mm-hmm. Florida is going to be tough. Now, not potentially having Matthew Tkachuk. We'll have to see what happens with that situation. And, see if he's playing and at what caliber. That could impact that game, but Barkov's going to be there. They're still going to be a tough out on the 27th. So you kind of got those two. Carolina, that's a tough one as well. You have to find a way to beat Anaheim and Montreal coming back home and having a mini little break after that game against Carolina. So I kind of go to those first couple games where it's like, the wild card to me is the game today, that first game back for everybody, or for most everybody. That's going to be the wild card. And then after that, I'm like, okay, if you settle in, if you go 2-1 in your 3 games against Washington, Florida, and Carolina, you're setting yourself up pretty good to get to that, 4-2-1 overall. And listen, I know we could call them scheduled wins if you want against teams that are below you in the standings, but yeah, I know Montreal's been sliding. Teams in the NHL, there's still parity. If they play really well and you don't, there's still the chance of them beating you. So I think it's a healthy number to say 4-2-1. And I think part of that for me is like, if you go 500 in this road trip and then you win your 2 home games, that's kind of where I finalize that. I'm like, go 500 on the road trip, win your 2 home games. And I think you're happy with that as a team. And we should be as fans as well. That's a great question though.
I like that. Yeah.
That's a really good question. Yeah.
He's smiling right now.
Thanks, Cass. Coming in hot.
What say you? How did the Oilers do in the 7 games leading up to the trade deadline? 5-game Eastern Conference road trip begins today in Philadelphia. It's off to Washington tomorrow. Then they have Florida, Tampa, and Carolina in there. And then they come home for a couple games before the trade deadline, facing the Ducks and the Montreal Canadiens. Let us know your thoughts, 780-218-9999. Get to the nasty chat. If you're watching on YouTube, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. As we look ahead to this game this afternoon with our game analyst, Matt Kassian, and we're going to dive into Game Changers, brought to you as always by Damon Bunting Real Estate. Damon Bunting, consistent top-producing realtor in the greater Edmonton area for over 17 years. He and his team would love to help you find that right home or make the move from your current home. Check him out, DamonBunting.com, or visit his Instagram at Damon Bunting Real Estate. Damon Bunting, now with the agency. Number 1 today, Cass. First game jitters.
Yeah, Matt Savoy, first game in the NHL for the Edmonton Oilers.
Yes.
Not his first game in the NHL, although I would wager to say, if you look back, I think at the one game he played with Buffalo, he played like 2 minutes that game in his debut. Like they didn't really, it was like 2.5 minutes. Like they didn't really give him an opportunity to play in that game. But here's a young kid that is incredibly high skilled. And I've had the chance to watch him play a whole bunch of times. Love that he's a St. Albert kid, by the way. It's amazing to see. It's not his NHL debut again, but his Oilers debut. So always good to have good homegrown talent playing. And he is a guy that plays the game at an incredibly high skill level. Like I remember watching him, with Moose Jaw, and they had a good team, and they had some really high quality players on that team, like Braden Yeager as an example. Now with the Winnipeg Jets will be in their system at some point here. He traded from the Pittsburgh Penguins this last summer, but he kind of was on an island. For as good as the Moose Jaw Warriors were, you could see in watching those games from a creative standpoint that he thinks the game at a very offensive, very creative way. And sitting, which I love, sitting like press box level, sitting high up and watching guys play, because it's an easy game from up high. It slows down. You see the holes, you see the gaps, you see the mistakes way better up there. And watching him play, I could see there's multiple times you could see what he was thinking. And I could be like, oh, this is what he's trying to do. And the players on the ice that he was playing with maybe just weren't quite at that same offensive level. Right. And that happens sometimes at junior. Doesn't happen at the NHL level. And it doesn't happen when you're playing with a guy like Leon Draisaitl. So when I was excited for him to get the call up, he's been playing incredibly well in the AHL, has started to produce points at a faster and faster pace as he's settled into playing the pro game. And he is the type of player where it's like, in an ideal world, he's not playing on your third or fourth line. Now, he plays the game hard. That's something I think you'll notice if you watch Matt Savoy tonight. He plays the game heart defensively as well. Now there's still polish. Sure, still development that needs to happen. But he's a player that has a high level of skill, but he puts work ethic in. That being said, his skill set is a guy that you want to play in your top six. Like, he has the potential offensively to really be able to play the game well with a McDavid or with a Draisaitl, which is where I'm happy they're going to, at least at the start of the game, give him a look there with Draisaitl. I hope that sticks, and I hope it works right away. But he is a player that has potential, maybe not even just this year, but just in the future, of playing in a top six role and being a young guy that can step in and be a difference maker and an impact player because he thinks the game at such a high skill level. So it's great to see him there and great to see the opportunity. I got to think there's going to be some nerves here, though, for Matt Savoie. Again, I think that first NHL game didn't get much of a look, didn't get much of an opportunity. And now you're jumping in to be like, hey, you're starting the game with one of the best players in the world in Leon Draisaitl. There's probably going to be a little bit of nerves there. But for Matt Savoie, a big moment, one that I'm excited for. I think Oilers fans should be excited for as well. It's not like there's 80 prospects in the minors that are just all chomping at the bit for Edmonton. I mean, this is, if we're looking at guys in the system that are close to stepping in and having a major impact or potentially a major impact, Matt Savoie's by far and away at the top of the list. I think an exciting, as I just take all this monologue, Tom, and don't let you talk, I apologize, but I'm very excited for Matt Savoie's debut. And I got to think, again, there's probably a little bit of jitters here for him, but excited to see him play with Draisaitl and to step in and to, hopefully have an impact on the ice.
Cass, you make a good point. Like, he played 5 shifts for $355 on November 10th. Okay,
$355 wasn't. I thought it was like $255. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was very minimal, the amount he played in his NHL debut. So this is going to be like a legit shot. He's 21 years old, like you said, from St. Albert. Not a big guy by any means. They have him listed at 5'9", 179 pounds. He is having a great season in Bakersfield. He's got 37 points, 13 goals, 24 assists. He represented the Condors at the All-Star game last week. I think he won fastest skater competition as well. So a lot of good things happening for Matt Savoie right now. And you're right. Let's see how he does with one of the best players in the world. I think it's pretty cool that we expect him to line up with Leon Draisaitl. Do you think that makes you more nervous, or do you think that it helps a guy if you have a Draisaitl that's your centerman in your Oilers debut? And first real game, he's probably going to play more than $355 tonight. Yeah,
if it was me, I would be very nervous because I'm not a skilled player. So I'd be like, just don't screw it up. For him, though, I think that it becomes an exciting thing, right? Because, again, he's a player that plays at that high creative, high offensive, like thinking 2 plays ahead to try to create space and to find open ice and create offense. Like, he has that capacity. He's not a guy that's only a straight line player, play up and down the wing, finish your hits, which is good. And, those guys can play well with the Draisaitls as well. I mean, look at Podkolzin. I mean, is an example of a guy that tries to play a pretty simple game and play in the corners and play in front of the net. And that seems to work quite well. And, adds an element that Draisaitl likes playing with, but he also likes playing with guys like Connor McDavid that are at another level from an offensive standpoint. And I think for Matt Savoie, the excitement has to be there, right? Because it's like, he's not just going to be playing in a 4th line role where he's like, okay, well, now I have to not necessarily change my game, but I have to manage my game, which oftentimes for young guys stepping in, if you're playing on the 4th line, you do, because it's like, you're going to be playing 10 minutes, 9 minutes, 8 minutes, 11 minutes. And those 11 minutes, you have to be mistake free, which is kind of the situation my whole career is like, you can't take any offensive risk because your role is not to produce offensively. It's to make it hard for the other team to play and to not get scored on. Right. It's like, you want to chip in offensively where you can, but it's don't get scored on. Let your big boys do their thing, play the game right, make it hard for the other team to play and to generate offense. And that's what your role is. And it can be challenging for young players to step into that, and almost get more nervous because it's like, well, if I make a mistake, I'm not going to get another shift. Now, there still could be some of that jitters where not wanting to make mistakes. With that being said, at least he knows, heading into it with Leon, he has the capacity to make some plays. and the expectation is that, you're going to try to produce some offense here. So I really like that they're playing with it. And I think it probably leads more to excitement for him than nerves, but there still are going to be some, again, first real opportunity here to play in the NHL. So there's going to be a little bit of nerves. Now, again, I think you're playing with guys that are going to help settle you down there in that, and I think it's a good thing. So again, we've talked about this a bunch, but I'm really excited, and to me, it's the biggest story heading into this for the Edmonton Oilers is Matt Savoie making his debut and playing on that line. It's something for us to be excited about, and for Matt Savoie to be excited about as well.
Expected to play with Vasily Podkolzin and Leon Draisaitl. We will confirm lines when the teams hit the ice in Philly for warm-up. It is Game Changers with our game analyst, Matt Kassian. That was point number 1, first game jitters. Matt Savoie making his Oilers debut this afternoon. Number 2, Cass, getting over the sniffles. And as I read that, I'm like, uh-oh, I'm getting the sniffles. What? Belsey? Yeah. Way to go, Belsey.
Just giving everybody the sniffles. Man, there's been some nasty stuff going around. Players that played at the Four Nations, there was something going around there too. Yeah. And I think so specifically for like a Matthias Ekholm, who I think you could hear in interviews where it was just like, he got hit with it. Yes. Hopefully he doesn't bring it back to the rest of the team, but there's some bugs heading around here. And so specifically for Ekholm coming back, like you don't get as long of a break. And I know you don't play the gold medal game for him, but you are sick at the end of the Four Nations. You continue to play hockey games, and now you're stepping right back into this thing here. I think from an energy standpoint, it's going to be important for him to have some game management for Matthias Ekholm's game. And for any guys that did get a little bit sick, because we saw at the Four Nations again, and it wasn't just on Team Finland, or wasn't just on Team Sweden, it wasn't just on Team Canada. It was like everybody had a little bit of something. Yes, or a lot of guys did that. Those teams had to deal with, and now you're carrying it back into your own dressing room. And for the Flyers as well, they had some players that all played there, and we'll talk again about that in a minute. But for Matthias Ekholm, he was very, very good at the Four Nations, and we saw that. And he's playing with other very, very good defensemen, but he played incredibly well. I think we just continue to see his capacity to defend well. And heading into this now, again, on a chunk where you're on the road again for the Edmonton Oilers, a bunch of games in a row. You're starting this thing off. You're just recovering from being sick. It takes time, and it's not just the days you are sick. It's the days afterwards as your body is just trying to get back to normal, and your energy levels, or you're trying to get them there. Matthias Ekholm, to me, and we could talk about Bouchard all we want, but he's the linchpin of this D. I think most of us know that in terms of the defensive side that this game can play, and a pretty big game for him. Like, let's see what type of energy level he has, and if he's able just to step back in at that, playing that 24 minutes a night level again here, coming off of being sick with the sniffles.
That was point number 2 of Game Changers, getting over the sniffles. Game Changers is always brought to you by Damon Bunting Real Estate. Damon Bunting now with the agency. All right. Number 3, Cass. Gold medal hangover. And Peter Texan says, how many minutes does Connor play today?
Yeah. Well, that's the big question, isn't it? He doesn't skate. Rightfully so, traveling to Philly, wants to jump right back in the lineup. Now, I don't think if he came to the coaching staff and said, "Hey guys, I need a day. Like, let me take one more day here and recover," they would have undoubtedly granted him that request. But as Knobloch said, Connor McDavid wants to play. He's a guy that wants to skate, wants to play, wants to be there for his team, and so he's going to play. And so what type of minutes are we going to see from Connor McDavid today? Now, there's some of that same questions, the same questions that'll go for the Philadelphia Flyers and some of their players that played quite a bit, like a Sanheim, for example, that will be there. I mean, you have Konechny, like you have some guys on Philly that also played quite a bit, but none quite to the level of Connor McDavid, and none with the expectation that Connor McDavid had heading in. And so that is a really big question is, okay, well, how many minutes is he actually going to play? What are his energy levels actually going to be like? Now, he's the best player in the world. So even if they're not, Connor at 90% energy is better than, well, pretty much everybody at 100% energy. But you're still going to be, for, I think, Knobloch in management situation where it's like, okay, I got to manage his minutes here. And the bigger question will be if, for whatever reason, the Flyers come out with a little bit more juice, which you don't know coming out of a long break, who's going to have what coming out of it and how teams are going to react. Like it's a little bit of a roll of the dice to a certain extent. You certainly would rather not have to rely on playing McDavid like 24 minutes today. An ideal situation would be you can roll 4 a little bit better and you're in control of the game for most of the game, and you're keeping McDavid around that 20-minute mark, 21-minute mark. That being said, we don't know that that's going to be the case. So it's going to be interesting to see how much McDavid plays, what type of juice he has. Is it one of those games where we're watching him going like, yeah, obviously he's always still really good, but he's not at his top level today.
Right.
Or is he coming into this, all pumped and jazzed off of winning the 4 Nations and just ready to take on the world again and ready just to do everything and ready to not have to play against the top defensemen in the world that give you just no time and space, which is a whole nother conversation. I was chatting with some guys still playing in the NHL yesterday that were all pumped, and it's just like, it was amazing to see the speed at which the defensemen in that Canada-US game on both sides of the puck just closed to where normally there'd be breakdown and opportunity, and it's just like they just close time and space, and there's just none. He's not going to have to contend with that as much here, but what energy does he have? How much is he able to play, and what type of minutes does Connor McDavid give you? It's a big line to watch coming into this game against the Philadelphia Flyers.
Just throw him out there. He'll be just fine. We'll see how
probably.
Exactly.
Probably.
Cass, a couple in the nasty chat that I just want to float to you and just kind of get your thoughts. We have a few minutes before we bring in Anthony Mingioni from Center Ice Philly. He is down at the Wells Fargo Center. Where is it? Sailor with one. It says, is Savoy auditioning for a spot in Edmonton or another team? Kind of speculating that he would be flipped somewhere else. What would you say to that, Cass?
You're speculating him for Edmonton.
Yeah.
He's a guy on entry level contract. He is cheap from a money standpoint. I highly doubt this is a showcase scenario where they're looking to say, look, he can play in your top 6 and then trade him. To me, it's like, well, do we have another option here to play in our top 6? Right. And play down the stretch, or if someone gets hurt, to play here full time. So it's not necessarily an audition for him to be here the rest of the year, but it potentially is. Like if he clicks right away, again, he's from a salary cap standpoint, he's cheap and it gives you a lot more options to tweak the rest of your lineup. So I highly doubt that this is hey, we're looking to trade Matt Savoy. He is by far and away your best prospect right now. And I know, as rightfully you should be thinking, win the Stanley Cup now, today, this year. That's what Bowman's thinking. That's what the team is thinking. And you're operating that way. But to me, you never want to say people are untouchable. I mean, we see trades in the NBA. Sometimes big trades happen.
No kidding.
Right. But he's got to be pretty close to we're not looking to trade him, because again, from a cost standpoint, where you have cost certainty on an entry level contract and a guy that's very high skilled, you're not looking to showcase him. It's legitimately to see, hey, can this guy stay here? Is he going to be able to produce in a top 6 position?
Cass, one more for you. Easy E in the nasty chat says, why is Skinner starting today and not tomorrow against Washington? What would you say to that?
Maybe you're looking at this going, this is the most likely to be a sloppy game, and Stuart Skinner's coming in rested. It's actually possible. It's possible that Skinner starts tomorrow too. Easy E. Very possible. It's a morning game. You just had time off. It's not like it's crazy travel, and it's not like you're getting to bed at 3 a.m. Yeah, that's right. Because it's a morning game, and you're going to have lots of time to get into Washington, to have time at the hotel, to get dinner. Like you're not. It's not a traditional back-to-back scenario. So it is possible that they see Stuart Skinner again tomorrow against Washington, and that could be the thought. Now maybe I'm wrong, and maybe they do start Pickard. But I think you're trying to get your starter back into it after a long break, not wanting to come out with your backup. And then again, it's not a traditional back-to-back, so you may see Stuart Skinner in both of these games.
Cass, excellent stuff as always. That's all I have to say. That was fantastic.
Thanks,
Good
buddy.
to be back. It's been like 15 days.
I know. It's been a million years. It's been 84 years. Yeah.
Been 84 years. All right, buddy. You are off for the post game. We've got Gager filling in for you today, and then you're away tomorrow as well, right?
Yes, yeah, away tomorrow, and I apologize. Have a big daddy-daughter date this afternoon, so I couldn't. I couldn't get out of that one. Taking them to their first actual play, so they're gonna go watch a little bit of a play and get all dressed up. So I got to get dressed up too and be a dad. So I'll be disappointed to not be on the post, but just being a dad, guys. Sometimes that's got to happen.
I love it. All right, Cass, great stuff as always. We'll catch up with you in the next few days for the next game after the weekend.
Sounds good.
There you go. There's Matt Kassian, our game analyst with Game Changers, brought to you as always by Damon Bunting Real Estate. Text us 780-218-9999. Nasty chat humming along okay on a Saturday morning as we get ready for a couple of really early games this weekend. Edmonton in Washington tomorrow. We do have Anthony Mingioni who will be stopping by in a second. McDavid will play. That is confirmed. We will see Matt Savoy make his Oilers debut, which is great. He's only played one NHL game, played 3 minutes and 55 seconds back on November 10th, 2023. In his NHL debut with the Buffalo Sabres, that was against Minnesota. Lineup-wise, here is what we've got going into this one. Lineups, as always, brought to you by South Fort Chev. Reserve your 2025 Equinox Trax and Traverse now. They won't last long. They've also got the best discounts on 2025 Silverados, and they won't be beat. See dealer for details, www.southfortchev.com. McDavid, he's back. Between Nugent Hopkins and Hyman, Draisaitl with Podkolzin and Savoy, Henrique between Skinner and Brown, Janmark with Kapanen and Perry on defense, Ekholm with Bouchard, Nurse with Klingberg, Kulak with Emerson. If anything changes, we will let you know. For the Flyers, we anticipate Scott Lawton between Andrei Kuzmenko and Travis Konechny. Noah Cates with Tyson Forster and Bobby Brink. Ryan Poehling centering Jacob Pelche and Matvei Michkov. Sean Couturier with Nicholas Delorier and Garnet Hathaway. On defense for Philly, Cam York with Travis Sanheim. Nick Seeler with Jamie Drysdale. Igor Zamula with Rasmus Ristolainen. Your starting goalies for today. 26-year-old Stu Skinner for the Oil. 20-12-4 is his record. 274 goals against average. 900 save percentage. 2 shutouts in 32 games this year. Skinner versus Philly. 3-0-1 record. 196 GAA. 938 save percentage in 4 games versus the Flyers. And then at the other end of the rink, we're expecting 25-year-old Samuel Ersson, who is 16-10-3. 281 goals against average, 896 save percentage, 2 shutouts in 31 games this season. Ersson versus Edmonton lifetime. Just 1 appearance, 0-1 record, 394 goals against average, 871 save percentage in that game versus the Oil. And that brings us to the Advantage Sports Medicine and Physiotherapy Injury Report. At Advantage Sports Medicine and Physiotherapy, we treat you like the pros. Our multidisciplinary team includes sports medicine physicians, along with highly skilled physiotherapists, strength and conditioning coaches, and massage therapists. If you have a nagging pain you'd like to see go away, book your consultation today at www.advantagesportsmed.ca. For the Oilers, nothing really new here. Alec Regula, IR knee, and Evander Kane, LTIR abdominal surgery and knee surgery. Kane is skating again, which is good. Philadelphia, Owen Tippett, day-to-day undisclosed. I think he had a non-contact jersey yesterday, so we'll see if that changes. And if Tippett, he's a big piece of this Flyers team, a good player indeed. Ryan Ellis, who's been on the shelf for years now, IR back, is your other noteworthy injury with the Philadelphia Flyers. We're going to get to Anthony Mingioni right away from Center Ice, Philadelphia. You could text us 780-218-9999. Get into the nasty chat as well. Let's see if we got Corey B. Hello. Good morning, Corey B. Says Matt Savoy for Mikko Rantanen. Yes, so dare to dream. Dare to dream. And then what else do we have in the nasty chat? Good morning, Joel. Hello, Phyllis. And hello, Stephen. Steve, what do I have to say about Kane? No, not much. We'll probably hear more in the coming weeks. I'll have to follow up with what the other guys were saying. All right. Hernan, Salas, how are we doing over there? still
not good because our company phone it says it's not registered. It won't let me call out.
Oh,
so
really?
I'm trying to work on it. Yeah. Give me a sec here.
All right. Well, you can use my phone if you want.
You connected to the road?
No. This is not good. It was working yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah, I can't even call. Like, I just tried to call my phone. It won't, and it says it won't go. Like, it says not registered. So I'm trying to pair my phone so we can get Anthony on. So just give me 2 shakes.
Okay, I can do that. 780-218-9999. All right. We do have lines confirmed for today. McDavid between Nugent Hopkins and Hyman. Draisaitl with Podkolzin and Savoy, like we mentioned. Henrique between Arvidsson and Brown. So Arvidsson back in. I had him omitted on that last lineup that I read out. That's my bad. Janmark between Skinner and Perry. And then on defense for today, we've got Ekholm with Bouchard, Nurse with Klingberg, Kulak with Emberson. Skinner does indeed start for the Oils. So there you go. There are your lineups for South Fort Chevrolet. Okay. Let's go to this one. Food Coma Drew. Tommy, Guy Dash here. Keep up the great work. Is anyone else expecting a bit of a letdown after such a fast-paced and highly emotional USA game? Hey, Andrew. Good to hear from you. I don't know. I think these guys are going to be pretty fired up. I think both teams are pretty excited, and I think like the rush and the energy that we saw in the tournament and on Thursday, I feel like we're probably going to see a bit of sloppiness though, but I think there'll be a good jump, good energy, maybe some physical play. I think it'll be good. Yeah, super emotional indeed. Matt Hyman, this one's for me and Hernan. Is it a lot of pressure being so handsome, Hernan?
Jeez.
Look at you blushing. You love it. You love it. Oh, Matt Hyman, good morning to you as well. All right, the teams are on the ice in Philly for warm-up. McDavid is indeed playing. Stu Skinner is your starter. Arvidsson on the third line with Henrique and Brown, and Ekholm paired up with Bouchard. Yes, indeed, Matt Savoy making his Oilers debut after being traded for Ryan McLeod. The Oil kicking off a 5-game Eastern Conference road trip. They will close out the season series with the Philadelphia Flyers. You'll recall the Flyers came into Edmonton and won on October 15th. Edmonton coming off a 5-4 loss to Colorado. Back on the 7th, it's been a while, the Flyers a 3-2 win over the Pens on February 8th. The Flyers play Pittsburgh 3 times in 4 games. They have a back-to-back coming up with Philly, a home and home, and with Pittsburgh, and they just faced off against the Penguins before they played against Edmonton. But again, that was 2 weeks ago. And Philly has 1 win in its last 6 games. The Oilers 16-7-2 on the road this season. Philly 13-13-1 at home. All-time Edmonton 38-36-3 with 8 ties against the Flyers. And at Philly, the Oil 13-26-2 with 2 ties all time in the city of brotherly love. Has not been kind to Edmonton, although the Oilers did win the Stanley Cup twice against the Flyers in the 80s. Edmonton 1-3-2 in the last 6 visits to Philly. Also, the Oilers 6-2-2 in the last 10 games versus the Flyers. Edmonton's power play. Quick refresher here, sitting at 25%, 6th overall in the National Hockey League. PK 23rd in the NHL at 75.6%. 2 shorties scored. Meanwhile, the Flyers power play has converted 24 of 152 opportunities. That's 15.8%. It's 28th in the National Hockey League. And then the PK for Philadelphia is 18th, so a little bit better there for the Flyers. Middle of the road, though. League-wide, 78.5% with 3 shorties scored. So there you go. A bunch of stats crammed in there for you as the 34-17-4 Oilers get set for the 24-26-7 Philadelphia Flyers. The Latino Heat's getting feisty over there.
Well, I mean, like, I don't know why this phone's... It's almost like our phone is disconnected.
Really?
Yeah, I can't call even Edmonton numbers.
Well, that's not good.
No, so
Okay.
I give me 2 more minutes, and now we might have to tell
Let's
Anthony.
get Tony Mingioni on here. You're laughing. Deep breath. Deep breath. We got to do this all over again tomorrow, big guy. All right. 780-218-9999. I can hear the little beeps. Is that from the phone? Must be. Yeah. Let's get to the nasty chat. See what's going on. Jimbo says, all the Four Nations hubbub made me forget about guys like Janmark. Total beauty. Yes, indeed. One of 14 games on the schedule today around the National Hockey League. Super busy Saturday as the NHL returns in a big way. Let's go and take a look at the other games. One underway already. Detroit and Mini just started, obviously 0-0 so far. You got Pittsburgh hosting Washington. Buffalo gets the Rangers. The Panthers host the Kraken. New Jersey has Dallas visiting. Nashville hosts Colorado. Anaheim's in Boston. Carolina goes to Toronto. Montreal and Ottawa squaring off at 5 o'clock our time. You've got the Hawks and the Jackets going. And you've got Winnipeg and St. Louis. LA hosting Utah HC. And then the late one tonight, Vegas welcomes in the Vancouver Canucks. We got the phone figured out. All right. We're back. It's been 15 days since we did a pre- and post-game show. Let's bring in Anthony Mingioni from Center Ice Philly. Good afternoon, Anthony. Good to hear from you. Thanks for hopping on today. Say hello to Stephen Wino and Mark Spector. Wino was texting me saying he was hanging out with you guys. How's the vibe in the rink? Because it's been a while since the actual NHL has played.
I tweeted out earlier, 2 weeks break. It feels like it's been 2 months.
I know.
That's pretty much how long it seems without hockey. But it's certainly good to be back in the rink, and looking forward, obviously, to covering this afternoon's game between the Oilers and the Flyers.
Anthony, hey, what's going to be the goal for the Flyers in these final 25 games here? I know it hasn't been an ideal season, and Flyers are kind of trying to retool here and get back into a competitive groove. But how do you look at these last 25 games for Philly?
I think they're looking at the evaluation period. I think at this point now is as the roster currently is just about done at this point now. I think they know it's the likelihood that, they want to be, as much as they want to speak to, they want to be competitive. Mm-hmm. They also know that this is going to be it's going to be tough sledding for them. And again, it's been an interesting year because as we spoke to you guys before, so much of the Flyers' success last season was predicated off a lot of confident play that was generated off their goaltending. Now, this year, Sam Ersson certainly had a tough start to the season. He certainly rebounded, and he obviously had a great game in the Four Nations. So Sam seems to be all the way back. But again, the backup situation is one that I think is still very much under evaluation at the moment, with obviously Ivan Fedotov, in this circumstance. I'm getting Fedotov and Andrei Kuzmenko mixed up here. Sorry, guys. So
don't worry, we're going to ask about Kuzmenko right away.
Yeah, I know you will. So it's been that part of getting consistent goaltending, I think, was certainly a problem for them, and I think it certainly triggered, I think, in many ways, a bit of lack of confidence. And then I think the signal pretty much was once the trade happened between Philly and Calgary, it kind of set a signal to everybody when you're sending your ostensibly a top six center in Morgan Frost, and and obviously a higher end winger like a Joel Farabee. You're kind of setting the signal that this is they're not necessarily looking at playoffs as likely here.
What did you make of that move? Danny Briere, like the motivation for that, what are you going to get out of Pelche and Kuzmenko? Like, what is Kuzmenko supposed to be the go-between Tortorella and Michkov? Like, I kind of looked at that and scratched my head. How do you analyze that trade?
I think it was a case in this. I think they came up to a point where they were evaluating Joel Farabee and looking at 3 years remaining. I really do view the move as very much a buying cap space for them. Okay. Because Kuzmenko obviously has an expiring contract, at 5.5 versus Farabee at obviously at $5 million. But to get out from that cap hit, if Philly is looking to do things for the all season, I think that's a big part of it. I think they look at it with Kuzmenko as well as kind of, he certainly is having another Russian player here, in terms of the development of Matvei Michkov is something that they're looking at. And it gives them a chance to look, if they are looking at Kuzmenko in the off season, this is basically an audition for him. The part that obviously that went along with that, obviously, trading Morgan Frost and trading away from a position that you already were kind of thin at to begin with organizationally, was twofold. One of which came about because of the fact that Noah Cates began to emerge as a bona fide, at least a middle six, possibly top, third, high level third line center who can give you offense from the center position. So I think they have plans in the off season to address the center position, and they felt that they could do something better than what they had, at least with Morgan Frost. Not to say Frost is a bad player, but I think they just looked at it as this was a move that they needed to make to help them with cap situation. They also got an additional second round pick. So they're up to 7 picks in the first 2 rounds in the 2025 draft. And that could be that's an asset that could potentially help them if they're trying to move off other salary or if they're trying to make an acquisition.
Anthony Mingioni joining us now from Center Ice Philly as we get you set for the Flyers and the Oilers. Edmonton hasn't played in 15 days, and we're ready to go for a big day around the National Hockey League. 14 games on the schedule, rather. Okay, let's talk about Michkov, Anthony, because I know people are excited about him. He's having a good season stats-wise. I think he's 36 points right now. Just taking a look at that. Yeah, 36 points in 55 games. A -15 on a Philly team that, isn't the strongest. How would you describe the season that he's putting together? What's his relationship like with John Tortorella? Are they cool? I saw that spat in that video a few weeks ago. How would you sum it all up?
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because, again, towards the day after that situation happened on the bench between him and Michkov, or Michkov basically stayed on the bench. He says, I got to recognize, he has such a high competitive level, Michkov, but it's also at the same time, I would tell you that it's still his first year. If they're trying to turn him into a true sort of dominant player in the NHL, there has to be an attention to detail defensively from that day. And this is something that this is something that he's learning, no question. And again, when you look at his offensive capabilities, it's undeniable. And you have to look at the situation, and you have to have certain growing pains. I know he's going to be playing today, basically on the third line. He's going to be basically playing on the line with Scott Lawton and Andrei Kuzmenko. So having a guy like Lawton, who is a good two-way player, kind of is a good role, in other words, a good role model for him. Mm-hmm. But again, I think they've been conscious of the fact that he's never played this many games before in his professional career, coming over from Russia, and they're trying to kind of bring him along. And with the offense comes, it's a good thing. But this is very much this season still, even with his numbers and everything, is still, I believe, a learning experience. And we're going to see, obviously, going into next year, how much of the lessons of this year will play in a role in his continued development going into the second season.
Anthony, what kind of game do you think we're going to see this afternoon? Is it going to be sloppy? Is it going to be high entertainment value, good energy? Like, what do you think? It's been a couple of weeks for these two teams.
It could be a little bit of everything today, because if you really kind of get down to it, it's been a couple of weeks. I think players got back pretty well fired up and ready to go after being away, and then obviously players from Edmonton, and obviously Travis Sanheim and Travis Konechny also played obviously for Team Canada. Energy comes back in that first game back after you haven't played in a couple of weeks. So it might be a little of everything. I think you might have some moments in the game where maybe the defense isn't as tight as it should be. And again, Connor McDavid obviously now has a lot of experience in the last couple of weeks going up against a John Tortorella coach team after the Four Nations. So, he kind of knows what he's going to be dealing with, obviously, in this game after a couple battles with Team USA.
What did you think of the Four Nations, and how hyped up should we be getting for the Olympics?
I think it's, it provided I think it was a high energy level. I was, when you're looking at sort of a mid-season thing, and I know some, there's, and obviously went on a whole nother level, obviously, on a political level, which I don't think I knew kind of going in, I anticipated it was going to be at a certain level, but it didn't get to the point that I really envisioned. But again, people say things, and things get put on the bulletin board, and I'm sure there were obviously in Team Canada's locker room and also Team USA as well. There was major points. This was a lot of energy, and I feel almost a little uncomfortable because it's like, as much as I like the friend, the idea of the U.S. and Canada always having a friendly, a friendly rivalry. In some ways, it gets physical. They're competing against one another, and Team USA again, I think, proved in this tournament as well that, I think they're every bit Canada's equal now. They're pretty much, I think, pulled. They're just about pulled even, and it took an overtime game for Canada to win. So it's a great, at this point now, it's a great rivalry, and we're all going to be evaluating this as we roll towards the Olympics.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. That was so much fun. And today's going to be a lot of fun. Anthony, it's always a pleasure catching up with you. Thank you for the time, as always. Say hi to the boys in Philly, and we'll do this again next season because this wraps up the season series between these two clubs.
Exactly. Thanks, Tom. I appreciate you having me on.
That's Anthony Mingioni, Center Ice Philly. Good stuff from him checking in on the Flyers as the Oil and Flyers go toe-to-toe for the second and final time this season. Hernan, you got the phone sorted out. Anthony was great, sounded crisp and clear. Great interview.
I was going to lose it, man.
You were going to lose it. We've got a couple minutes here. Any final thoughts from you, Nancito?
Yeah, I'm intrigued. That's a good question you asked Anthony there. By the way, I love Anthony Mingioni. He's awesome.
Yes.
What kind of game? I'm kind of looking on the good old X machine, and a lot of the guys that played in the Four Nations are playing today.
Yeah.
Like Lucas Raymond's in the lineup, Dylan Larkin, Brock Faber.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm intrigued. I think McDavid's going to be flying, man.
Same.
He's going to be amped. I'm intrigued by Savoy. I think I said it with Gager a couple weeks ago. I think we both said, yeah, sure, we'll get a look. But we said don't force it, and I don't think they are. I think they're like, hey, let's see what this kid has. I don't know how long this extends to, but I wish him all the best, man. If he can chip in with a point or a goal, I mean, Carmen Gill, if you're listening, he's probably the happiest guy right now.
That's great.
Because Carmen Gill wants every guy in Bakersfield to be up here.
Of course. So, give me.
He's probably ecstatic, but good on him. Hey, listen, he's been excellent in the minors.
Yeah, he has been.
And you need to be rewarded sometimes. So I'm excited to see him. I hope Skinner has a good game. Mm-hmm. I don't think I can deal with Skinner bashing in the post game. So
not ready for it.
Not ready for it, but it's gonna be fun, man. The Oilers are back. No rest for the wicked, and here we go, man. I think McDavid's gonna be flying, man. It's gonna be absolutely flying, Tommy.
Yeah, we get to do this all over again tomorrow morning as well. Corey B gets the final word. He texts in, says, I think Savoy scores today and adds an assist. He's going to be excited to play with the best player in the league this season, and Dry is going to be relieved to be playing with skill. Let's go, says Corey.
But he's playing with Pot Colson. Don't forget that, man.
Hey, he digs for pucks, does the dirty work.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, whatever, man. I'm not going to bring that up anymore. I'm over it, man.
I get it. Let's see if it works. Maybe there's chemistry today. Savoy gets a shot with Leon Draisaitl, Vasily Podkolzin, Stu Skinner in net for the Oilers. McDavid is playing. Also, Arvidsson in, Ekholm in. It'll be Samuel Ersson in goal for the Philadelphia Flyers. And these two teams close out the season series. Philly getting the better of the Oil back in October. Or no, the Oilers did win that game 4-3. My bad. They lost that game poorly.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
That was the Nachos game. The Washington one.
The Washington game was the Nachos one, yes.
Yeah.
What a bizarre thing. Who throws nachos on the ice? Ridiculous. And then that guy got tasered.
Twice.
That was confirmed to me by people from Rogers Place, the security staff there. So hopefully no nachos get thrown on the ice in Philly today. Maybe the Oilers close out the season series with a win. Skinner and Ersson are your goaltenders. We'll see if McDavid's shot out of a cannon after that big goal on Thursday night against the U.S. in overtime. That's going to do it for the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show. Big thank you to Anthony Mingioni from Center Ice Philly. And for Matt Kassian and Hernan Salas, I'm Tom Gazzola saying enjoy the game. We'll catch you on the postgame show. Ciao for now.